Common adoption issues, right? And let's just see if you can dive through this with a good pace. So we'll start with the PMO design, and it's not about the tools or technology yet, right? It's a PMO design. How do we design our PMO process, right? How does PMO help? And a lot of organizations, people are, it's a risky proposition to become a PMO director, if you will, right? In some organizations, it is because no one really knows what the PMO is supposed to do, and the proper design of those processes is very important, and it's very common adoption issue when the design of the PMO itself is not hitting the mark, right? Is not aligned with the business or the business operations. So it's important to have the PMO design in a way that there's a clear value in how and when the PMO can produce that value to the business. Okay. Then we can talk about the PPM solution, right? And we're obviously going to focus on the Microsoft PPM solution, the solution, the configuration, the design of that tool, and how will that be aligned with the actual PMO design, right? So new process change. When you have a new PPM solution, when you have a PMO design, this is all either recent or current process change. So you got to work on the change management to make sure that the adoption is going to go smooth and nice and without major bumps down the road. Okay, so the training. Well, a lot of times we hear the training is a key to success, training and training and training and training. We have a lot of cases where the training actually, the wrong approach or not the optimum approach to the training didn't help, or I mean, the vice versa. So when the training, the traditional training approach didn't work. So I'm going to talk about the training specifically and how we can what are the thoughts that we have in Trusted IT Group to help that training to be actually helpful for adoption going forward. Okay, scalability. So we bake into the PMO design and the PPM solution and the change and the training. We gotta bake in that scalability factor. What if we trained, let's say, half of all the PMs and everything, and tomorrow we grew to a new company, or tomorrow we onboarded twice as much as more projects that we had before. We need to hire another 20 project managers. How do we train them? So we're gonna go through this whole training and change process all over again with these guys. So there's a way to think about your PMO and the growth potentially, how to scale it out. Also to scale it out, not just within the scaling of the actual number of projects, but the scaling to other organizations. So a lot of times the PMO starts within one organization, and then you're like typically IT, right? And then you may have other divisions kind of joining that lead of that PMO and start using that PMO for tracking and managing other divisions' projects. So that scalability factor should be baked into the adoption. The growth, the scalability. I guess the growth goes along with the scalability. The growth is basically to plan and account for kind of projected growth of users, projected growth of projects, projected growth of team members, and etc. And communication. How do we communicate between PMO and the rest of the business? What's the best way to communicate? Because when we're dealing with schedules, status reports, portfolio reports, we need to be able to communicate this information out in order to gain that feedback, gain that value, or secure that value that PMO would produce. So common adoption issue. So we have within our company, we have collected some of the information in terms of typical issues, and we will be able to share this information after that. So you can basically consider this as almost like a benchmark or common issues, because we have quite a bit of clients going through our managed services. We have our ticketing and managed services machine is basically processing all of this information, and this is what we came up with as far as the benchmarking. I mean, we're not sharing any information about any particular client here, but this is overall industry standard ticketing, troubleshooting ticket issues that are coming up, and we're helping with that with that information through our managed services. And let me just elaborate a little bit on those typical issues, adoption issues, and how do we suggest it fixes it. So remember, we were talking about the PMO design, and now we were talking about the PMO processes and concepts should be aligned with the strategy. So we continuously improve it based on the Microsoft on the managed services information and assessment. So by understanding what is going on with all the users and all the processes, and by every quarter we come up with the PMO and understand what are those things that are not working, and what are those things that should work in the future. And then in this case, we're trying to adjust the PMO design so it addresses the value for the business more precisely, or it would be capable of generating more value for the business going forward. So by understanding the information of the PMO of the current users' troubles and tickets, we can come up with the more suggestions and the assessments based on aligned with the best practices for the PMO design. The same goes along the PPM solution, where we are suggesting to review the analytics of the PPM and look at the health checks, understand if the tool is actually helping the process, and adjusting the tool configurations along the way. The new process change, again, the review of the assessments, review of the roadmaps, understanding what kind of processes still need some help in order to change or get adopted. And the training, that's an important one. One-on-one trouble ticket resolution. So basically the traditional training, when the trainer comes up and conducts a training for like 10 people at a time, there's a curriculum, right? And even though there's the solution tailored training, this particular training is only relevant at this particular this particular moment of time. So if you were at the beginning of your implementation or at the end of your implementation, you've designed everything, you built everything, we configured everything, and then you conducted the training, this training is only relevant to this particular point in time. Right? In a month or 2 or 3 from that point, this training becomes less and less relevant, because the content of that training that was conducted was relevant based on that initial design. But if you go through the PMO design and PPM continuously improving and continuously configuring in order to accommodate the changes that are coming to the PMO, we're offering, basically we're suggesting that PMOs would do continuous training by continuously working closely with the SMEs, with the subject matter experts in that particular field, addressing those particular questions. So basically the training in this case gets one-on-one, getting the raising the comfort level of the users by resolving some of their issues one-on-one, and that's been a tremendous success for us. And then we've seen a lot of good feedback when we provide this type of training on one-on-one. So we're addressing the exact issue that user is facing versus kind of providing the training that is a blanket, for all and may not be relevant for specific users. So scalability group, we have the ability to scale it out in order to provide the adoption rates, to increase the adoption rate for more users. Some of the users have simple questions. Some of the users have more complex questions. So we basically have an ability to scale it out by grouping some of those requests and tickets into areas. And providing some of the quick responses and providing some of the trainings based on those questions. So we are working towards the fact that people would answer, have their questions answered once, and if they need to come up with if they need to ask another question, they can, but they would not ask the same question twice, likely, right? So we're doing all to scale it out to the degree that we can keep the knowledge base of all the typical questions and having people being more comfortable and working with the system. The growth, the automation, their Power BI and other Office 365 technological breakthroughs. So we're suggesting to use more and more the analytical tools like Power BI and others to be able to manipulate and understand the data that you're dealing with within your PMO quickly. So when you need to have some information, you can't wait these days, day or two or three to someone go and bake this report for you. You need to be able to quickly, click on the link and then get the report, right? And then maybe go through some filters and get the information you're looking for. So more and more we have enhanced the way to get this information quickly through Power BI, and I'll show you exactly those clicks and steps how we suggest you can do that. And communication. So you need to be able to provide this information to all the organization that may need that information, and also you need to be able to pull the information from others as you see fit for your own PMO purposes. And we had separate webinars about the integrated data models for the PMO that deserves a separate topic. But basically this model of connecting all kinds of different data sources into either data warehouse or Power BI solutions or things like that, this is where you need to be able to communicate this information out. So we are suggesting that you can actually go to your project, right? So from Office 365 homepage, you can get to your project, and then somewhere at the bottom, we just place this link and say, email support. So when you click on that, it basically launches your browser, and then you can start typing your email address. Start typing your, issue with project reports, and then once you say send that, it will get to the get someone back to you, and this person would be able to answer that question, address the question. We suggest that at least on the monthly basis, you review some of the information like this. And again, this one is built on top of the Power BI. It doesn't have to be on that Power BI. Obviously, we're as part of the Microsoft partnership, we're promoting the Microsoft, Power BI solution. But the point is this: as far as the PMO, you need to be able to review this information, and this is just a general dashboard. But primarily, you may want to take a look at the this information when there's last published report, where you can look at and sort the projects that were published recently. So let's say, well, this one was published 5/22 fairly recently, but the others, well, since this is a demo environment, the others were not published recently. So I may want to actually go ahead and make these calls to some of these project owners and say, hey guys, your projects are out of date, so maybe you want to go and check these projects. And I can also, in this particular case, I can from using this report, I can quickly go to this project and take a look at its schedule, take a look at the what's going on with this project, right from here from the Power BI. So in this case, where I can take a look at the variances, look at the last published, look at some additional information that may sense for me as a PMO the quality of my data. If I just go back here, I can also just quickly go and look at somebody's particular projects by just using these filters. Project owner, there's project by date, there's different project types, software projects. So it's kind of cool tool when you can drill into some of the objects, some of the information very quickly. If I go forward, there's another one. This is health check report, and this is where it's showing my portfolio list of my projects, and this is where I can see some of the metrics that are typically telling me the health. So I see this red over here, assignments on summary tasks. So it's a good practice not to have assignments on summary tasks. So that's why it's showing me the number of tasks with those summary tasks. And it has all kinds of different metrics, like there's tasks with no effort, tasks with generic resources, tasks with late finish, and projects with issues and risks, late finishes, local resources, unassigned tasks, etc. So there's a lot of kind of health check metrics here on this particular dashboard that allows you to understand whether how healthy the project information at least is, and then you can start diving into some of the tracking metrics, understanding whether those portfolio items are going to be successful as far as their execution. Here you can also sense the heat map in terms of your resources. You can understand, in this particular case, it's showing you like the next 90 days, showing you some of the health of some of the resources. Some of them are way over allocated. Some of them are not, so it kind of gives you a sense on how your resources overall under over allocated, and you can see some of the histogram information for as analyst or developer by role. You can also take and consider this as a good information where you can quickly get to. This is basically almost you can, if you have a Power BI, you can refresh it at any time, or schedule the refresh as frequent as you'd like. But as far as the managed services, we're suggesting you have to review this information at least on a monthly basis, and that's what we are providing to most of our clients. So the information about the resources pool, about the vacation time and things like that. Vacation requests, the resource utilizations. So I can select all the project. I can see, throughout my organization, I will be overutilized, which is over allocated, right, in June. So I gotta change something and see what kind of roles I need to shift around. And things like that. So timeline report, and you can always use this status report to run a status report against any project, right? Look at their resources, look at the incompleted tasks, issues, risks, etc. So I hope that was it was informative and somewhat useful. I do appreciate if you have any feedback in terms of whether this was in any way relevant to what you're looking for as far as the adoption. But I guess this is what we came up with as far as our experience with the clients and with the industry, and it's been pretty good. All right. Well, other than that, again, thanks for stopping by. We will post this recording online, and we'll share this information afterwards. Other than that, thank you, and have a great day.